Hello and welcome. It's a rainy Thursday afternoon here at Site B. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's the 29th day of December 2022. I'm drinking ginger ale because my stomach's upset. And today we are continuing our session 0 of Dungeon 23, the idea brought to us by the creator of Mothership and recently made famous by Ben from Questing Beast. Now, yesterday we explored what is the difference between a normal dungeon and a mega dungeon. Is it size? Is it fluidity? What? Now today let's explore who built our mega dungeon. Okay, because nobody sets out to build something that ridiculously huge. Even the real world counterparts of what we could consider a mega dungeon didn't start out to be as ridiculously huge as they are. Just through time and effort and just series of unfortunate events, these things tend to just sort of grow. Now, if you want to talk real world examples of mega dungeons or either just dungeons, we could go UCLA, the Pentagon, the Winchester Mystery House, the Mall of America, IKEA. These are all things that didn't start out being as ridiculously huge as they are. UCLA started out as a small little series of buildings in the hills of Los Angeles. The Pentagon started out as a small building. The Winchester Mystery House started as a small 2-story house. IKEA started out as a hardware store. But time passed and they just grow. So who built our mega dungeon? Okay, who's the first guy who set out and said, I'm going to build this? Well, here's a mega dungeon from Tony Doller. Now, chances are this was not the original plan. Okay, chances are it started as one thing and then just sort of grew over time, kind of like real life. But yeah, I don't want to know. All right, here's this one's just called Mega Dungeon Complete. Okay, so I guess this is all water and everything else is just the ridiculous rooms. And then I guess this is the entrance. So probably, you can just look at this place and go, well, obviously the caves were made by the water. Okay, we got a whole bunch of underground caves made by the flow of water over time. Then probably a group of dwarves, because it's 90% of the time it's a group of dwarves. We're digging a mine and they found the water and they're like, let's follow the water to see where it goes. And then they're like, let's dig this out. And then they probably like stumbled over here across a group of other monsters that were layering over here and stuff like that. Here's I'm not getting a lot of maps here. Let's go Mega Dungeon map. All right, this is better. This is the one we just looked at. All right. So again, who set out to build this place? This is called the Stone Glance Cave. All right. So probably started out with the cave. Somebody discovered the cave. Probably dwarves, because 80% of the time is dwarves. And they were like, let's mine this cave. Who built our mega dungeon? Dwarves. Innocent mining expedition. Dig out here, dig out over here. And they're like, okay, yeah, let's dig. We've got this natural cavern we could work with. We got to build some living quarters for our dwarves, and we got to build a smithy for our dwarves. Some of our dwarves miss their home, so let's build. And then like, oh no, we found some cultists. We got to deal with them. And the cultists are like, how did these dwarves discover us? And then it just grew. Let's look at another one. Let's see if we can find a map of Undermountain. Because Undermountain's probably the most famous one, right? So here's Undermountain, right? The halls of Undermountain. Now, Undermountain did not start out like this. Undermountain started out pretty much here. Some dwarves were, dwarves were mining. Dwarves were mining, dug their mines, stumbled across some drow elves and some drow elves tunnels. They fought over it. Then along comes Hallister, and he comes down there, and he's like, I'm going to build my academy and my labs down here. And, oh, here are these dwarves, and they're fighting these drow elves. Should I help them out? Oh, this weird energy from the drow elves is coming and mutating things. I want to explore the source of this energy. I'm going to keep digging. Oh, here's some old ruins from the previous civilization, and then just grow. And 10 years later, 100 years later, meanwhile, Hollister is still wandering around down there going, I need to build new stuff for my students. But Hollister didn't send out to build Undermountain. Hallister set out for a completely different goal. The dwarves didn't set out to get involved in this major underground war with the Drow. They set out for something completely different. So most Mega Dungeon can blame dwarves, it seems. No, but the point is nobody set out to build the Mega Dungeon. It just kind of happened. And if we could follow, our most famous Mega Dungeon here with Undermountain, with Hallister, and, it started as a dwarven mine. The dwarves ran into conflict with the other species that are already down there. And then this wizard decides to come down and help out. And then he's like, this would be a great place for my labs and to train my apprentices. And so he keeps spreading it out. And as he's spreading it out, he's like, I need to get work in here, but I don't want to attract too much attention. So what I'll do is I'll build these portals, and then I'll portal over to the jungle, and then I'll get some, goblins to come in and work. And I'll portal over to the ocean, and I'll get a giant shark, because every dungeon needs a giant shark. And so, and as he's building the room for the portals, and as he's building the room for his apprentices and his experiments, of course, the dungeon grows. And then each apprentice is like, oh, I'm going to split off at Hallister and continuing my research in the dark practices of necromancy. So I'm going to dig out over here and then grow. And so, yeah. So let's see, look at some other look at this. Okay, so this is just somebody who took a bunch of the Dyson pre-generated geomorphs and put them together. But what's the story here? Where did this place start? Your eye is instantly drawn to this right here. But yeah, this one feels like it started kind of like here. Now, I can't really tell what the story of this one is. Probably dwarves. But it looks a little too organized. And then look at this one. Yeah, how did this one start? Well, we see some caves. So, again, probably dwarves digging down, found something, things spread. Here's another one. This was a Mega Dungeon level 1 map from somebody. Here's another one. Another one. This is, I don't know what this one is. The Shop of the Borderlands, Gardu's Plateau. So again, you can see it's a mountain, series of caves, underwater stream, labyrinth, dwarves, more caves, some buildings that got built by either probably the miners and probably some evil cultists, Let's look at Borrow Maze. Spoilers for anybody in the Borrow Maze game on Monday. This is the entire map of Borrow Maze. This place makes no sense whatsoever. Except if you read the history of Borrow Maze, it literally is just building on top of building on top of building, building next to something else. And then those things, sort of end up connecting. So this is just a series of a bunch of people built the exact same thing in the exact same place over a long period of time. And all those things just sort of started connecting. But it started just simply as a mausoleum / graveyard. But then somebody else was like, no, I'm going to build my graveyard next to your graveyard. And then, so Borrow Maze. Let's look at Rapanathuk. So Rapanathuk is a little bit different. Because it's a layer cake dungeon, and there aren't any really good maps of it. So really, we just got to kind of go with Under Mountain. Now, on the surface, these don't make any sense. They're just a bunch of squares. Who built these and why? But then as you get into it, you understand that, there's some logic behind the story of Undermountain. As Alistair's apprentices are digging out their domiciles and continuing their experiments, tend to build in recognizable, easy shapes. Disintegrate works in squares. So yeah, they're just disintegrating and connecting. And then when you make a tunnel and then you connect the tunnel to the other tunnel, but then you just got this tunnel going nowhere, or there's a collapse. So yeah, but you know what? Enough with messing around with made up dungeons. Let's look at the real Mega Dungeon that I'm aware of. UCLA. This is Southern California's Megadungon. So UCLA started as one building in the hills of the Southern California, Los Angeles, near where the Hollywood sign is now. That building grew too big. I mean, the students and what UCLA was doing grew too big for the building. So they moved to downtown Los Angeles, Century City. And UCLA began its lifestyle as one building, and then a drive. You had to drive over here across the Century City to the hills of Los Angeles to go to the original building. But then the southern campus started over here with just some classrooms over, I think it was over here at engineering. And of course, what UCLA is most famous for, the UCLA Medical Center. And then we had people coming in, and we're like, well, we've got to build more places for these people to live. So the dorms started getting built. And as they're building the dorms, they're carving out all this land to make parking. And then stores are coming in and going, how can we support all this construction that's going on here? Well, let's build some markets. Let's build some stores. Let's build some infrastructure. Let's build places where these people can shop. Meanwhile, we're getting more students coming in, and the fame of UCLA is growing. The fame of UCLA Medical Center is growing. They're like, hey, let's build a huge field for our sports because, our sports is pretty big and we want to be a big sports franchise. So we got all this sports building stuff going on. And then, of course, they've got to go, well, we've got to build centers for these sports people to work in and live in and organize the teams. And so grow. And then they're like, you know what? We're getting a lot of people showing up for our hospital. We really need to expand our hospital. And then, as long as we're expanding our hospital, we should probably start teaching doctors. Right. So I got to get some more buildings in here to teach these doctors. And we got to, when you're teaching medical stuff, you need a lot of space because there's so many different aspects to medicine. So it grows and it grows and it grows. And it brings you to UCLA today. And if you've ever read about the UCLA hospital is so big, it is actually larger than the Pentagon. It has never been completely mapped out. And even people who have been there for years do not know the entire layout of all of UCLA Hospital. So UCLA Hospital alone, the medical center, is a dungeon. Now you interconnect all that, and all these buildings are interconnected too. There's a whole substructure of tunnels and sewers and electrical conducts and maintenance tunnels that allow, people to get from here to here really quickly. Plus there's parking lots and there's underground parking and underground housing and basements, and all of these are interconnected. So if we're looking at a real world mega dungeon, this is probably one of the best examples that I'm aware of, at least here in Southern California. But the whole point of this ridiculous discussion is it didn't start out being this big. So if we get to the source of our thing, who built your mega dungeon? Remember, your mega dungeon didn't start out as a huge thing. And what the guy who came up with the idea is, this is like, don't dream big, don't start out with it being huge. Just one room at a day. And if on day 13 you don't have an idea, just put empty room. It's not a race. It's not a contest. You don't have to do 365 rooms. This place started out with one guy with one idea, and it just sort of grew and evolved and became something completely different. And, Undermountain is probably one of the best fantasy references that just started out as one thing, and then it just sort of grew. And real world here in California, it's UCLA. UCLA is our mega dungeon. Started out as a little building over here in the hills, and then it was a road from that building to this building, and then it just kind of grew, and then it grew again, and they're like, oh, well, we got to do this to support this. And then these people are coming in going, oh, look, here's all this infrastructure being built. Let's make money off of it by opening stores and shops and movie theaters. And then, oh, well, I want to build my business near UCLA, so I'm instantly, and then it just grew. And then they're like, we're going to become one of the #1 hospitals in the world. And as I said today, nobody actually knows how big UCLA Medical Center is. So there's your real live mega dungeon there. So when you start Dungeon 23 on Monday the 1st, do not think I have to make 365 rooms. Just one room at a time, one day at a time. If you have a blank day, you're just like, I got nothing, empty room. And if you're just like, I don't got 365 in me, that's fine. Just day at a time. It can be a 3-room dungeon. It can be a 30-room dungeon. You can try and go for 365, but not every one of those rooms have to have something going in on it. Not every one of those rooms have to have a reason to be there. Remember, some of these were just built by accident. Some of these are just happenstance. I was digging one thing and I stumbled across another thing. Carlsbad Cavern didn't just happen. It wasn't planned. It was just, oh, here's a hole. Oh, here's another hole. Oh, wait, this hole connects to another hole. Oh, wait, here, So, yeah, there you go. That was 15 minutes of me pretty much just talking about how awesome UCLA is, I guess. So free advertising for UCLA, considering I didn't go to UCLA, but the rest of my family did. So I'm a UCLA legacy simply by nature. I got accepted to UCLA, but I went to a different college because I wanted to get out of California while still being in California. Hindsight 2020, probably should have gone to UCLA. Anyways, that's it for this. That's all I've got for today. Tomorrow we'll be back with our regular scheduled nonsense. If you got any topics you want me to talk about in 2023, let me know. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Help me hit 1 billion subs. And shameless self-promotion. Check out my merch. Links down below. Buy yourself some OGGM sweatshirts. Get yourself some OGGM stickers. Help support me in 2023 because this is my job. And now I'm going to enjoy the rain. Talk to you later.